station. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is the space station. Ready for the event.
Fox News Radio, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Fox News Radio. How do you hear me?
Fox News Radio, hello. I hear you loud and clear, and welcome to the International Space Station.
Station, this is Fox News Radio. How do you hear me?
Fox News Radio, I hear you loud and clear. Welcome to the International Space Station.
Well, thank you so much. It is truly great to be with you. It's certainly a pleasure for me as well. I'm a big fan and a longtime space reporter in a Space Academy or Space Camp, as it was called Space Academy back then when I was a kid, graduate. So it's certainly a treat for me to talk to you today. So thank you for your time. Captain, I know that we are coming up on an important and memorable anniversary for space station's operations here in November, and I was wondering if you could take just a moment to tell me about the station as it is now. How is the station holding up all these years into hosting humans in space for constantly?
The International Space Station.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're very proud of the fact that we've had personnel living on board the International Space Station for 20 years come November. On a personal note, for me, it's especially personal because my mentor, astronaut Bill Shepard, another Navy captain and Navy SEAL, was the commander of Expedition 1, and now here I am, the second Navy SEAL to fly in space on Expedition 63, 20 years later, kind of bookending, and that's like quite a special thing for Shep and myself. In terms of the space station, it's really doing well. I mean, it is 20 years old, but we keep up with the maintenance. We fix, and it's a mechanical thing, so things have broken in those 20 years, and we fix them, and there will be more things to break, and we'll continue to fix those items. But as we live and float around aboard the space station, I really can't help but think it's got a lot of life left in it, and so it's really a question of how long our nation desires to fund it, and as long as we have the funding and the will, we can keep this thing operating and conducting outstanding science on board the International Space Station.
20 years later, kind of bookending.
Well, it's certainly the wonder of the modern world, and I want to recognize not just your service in NASA, but also your service in our military. Thank you for what you do, and for the dual role of keeping us safe and pushing our science to the limit. More, if I could, about the space station. You know, as you just mentioned, the station can have a long, long life still, and we are, at least under the current administration, looking at some very exciting new things in space with a possible lunar return and other things. What do you think the station's role will be in this going forward? You know, the station is the marvel, but if we start having a lunar gateway and things further away from planet Earth, there will be other marvels too. So what's the station's job in this new era?
Well, that's a great question, and ultimately things boil down to budget in any large program, and it is a very, very, as you pointed out, a very, very exciting time to live and work in our manned space community. Well, space in general, manned and unmanned at this point in our nation's history, and as you say, we've got vectors on returning back to the moon and ultimately on to Mars. And all of that in the background with, in the forefront really for us, you have commercial vehicles flying people now to the space station, as I welcomed Bob and Doug just a month or so ago, a couple months ago. And so that's all fantastic and exciting for us to be living in the moment. Now, how does space station fare once we start moving into beyond low Earth orbit? My personal opinion is that NASA will have to make some tough budgetary decisions, and whether or not we can continue to fund the space station in that time frame, or maybe we hand it over to commercial entities to operate and maintain. Who knows? That's beyond my pay grade, but I don't think we can fully man and staff and operate the space station in the current paradigm, as well as explore the lunar environment and move to Mars. So there'll be some decisions to make, and we'll make them when we get to that point. But the space station itself provides an outstanding test bed for what's needed to conduct those missions and live in beyond low Earth orbit.
You mentioned the arrival of contracted spacecraft. The big news, of course, had been the SpaceX Dragon. We know Boeing is on its way to making their first trek to the space station. How cool was it to see that first commercial crew arrive? That's something that's been a long time in the making, and I know there had been plenty of delays, but the private sector getting involved in this really does, I think, free up NASA to do some other things with its existing funding, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's wonderful all the way around. Your initial question, how cool was it? It was amazingly cool. It was so fun to fly directly over the launch pad moments before, 2 minutes before they lifted off, knowing that rocket was going to make a beeline right for us. And then as Bob and Doug and the Dragon were on the final stretches of the rendezvous sequence, I just couldn't help but get chills thinking about how awesome it was that my friends were in that capsule, and we were starting a new chapter of the space station, and really exploring a way to explore space beyond what we've traditionally done. So it was just such an honor to be part of it and have them here for those 2 months. Just super, super cool.
And Captain, normally when you do interviews on television, everyone, I'm sure, asks you to do a flip or a roll to demonstrate that microgravity, but people are just going to be listening to us. They can't see you. So I would like for you to describe, in a way that maybe you haven't done for other people, what is it like to float and flip in the air in that environment? Because most people will never obviously get to know that experience.
Well, floating around is quite fun, and there's a lot of silly astronaut tricks that happen as we try to shoot like an arrow as straight as we can for as long as we can, as float without hitting a wall, or do, as you mentioned, a few somersaults and see how many somersaults you can do, again, without hitting a wall. But what's most relatable, I think, to folks are normal everyday things, like eating, cutting your fingernails. When you cut your fingernails at home, the clips just fall right to the floor. In space, they fly everywhere. So, and if we're eating, say, a bag of something small like nuts or M&Ms, they will float all over the place. So you need to do these activities really close to an airflow so that you have some sort of thing to catch it. Just imagine opening up a bag of small candies, and they float everywhere, and they're all around you, and you're trying to catch them, and they're going into your friend's face. That's where it gets sometimes comical, and it gets sometimes you wish you had gravity to help you with these everyday tasks. But on a routine basis, we really just enjoy it. And I know I just have less than 50 days of enjoying weightlessness for this mission. So I'm trying to soak it all in and experience all of those fun things every day.
Well, thank you, and thank you to everyone at Houston for patching us through and making this happen for us. Captain Chris Cassidy, the commander of the International Space Station, who is in space, in orbit. Thank you for being on the Fox News Rundown.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for coming aboard the space station.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
Thank you to all participants from Fox News Radio. Station, please stand by while we reconfigure audio.